Rightio. So as Mark said, my name is Stephanie. I work for Grant Property. I have helped quite literally hundreds of people invest in property over the years. Myself and my colleagues as well. We last year hit a very important milestone at Grant Property, having achieved our 3,000th renovated property. So something we are very, very proud of. So what we're going to do today is I'm just going to take you through our sort of standard webinar slides, and you guys gather up your questions. At the end, we can have a sort of Q&A session and we can take it from there, okay? Let me just get that pulled up for you guys. Rightio. Right, so as I said, I work for a company called Grant Property. This is actually our 25th year doing investment and management, having started with just one property. And as I said, last year hitting 3,000. And we're going to focus on how to maximize your returns and minimize your tax, okay? So I know that you guys have done your education, you know about property, you know that you want to invest. But as you probably know, there are many, many approaches to investing in property in the UK. So ours is just one of them. It's one that has worked for us and been tried and true for the last 25 years. We have some very, very happy clients, and perhaps you guys will join the ranks as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what we do and why. Then we're going to move on to investment options and case studies, and then we're going to talk about the fun bit. Just a spoiler, it's actually tongue-in-cheek. It's not as fun as you may think, but worth holding on for, okay? So what we do and how. So we basically do everything. We are a full service solution. As I say, this is not a pick and mix. It is something that we start from the beginning to end. So we start with sourcing. We then renovate all of our properties. We furnish them and we manage them ongoing for you as well. The things that make us unique as a business are, we're a one-stop shop. So everything is our responsibility. Okay. So we're not going to say, one person sources something, then you need to go ahead and get builders and you also need to get furnishing. We're quite literally going to take responsibility for every bit of your property. Okay. We cover 10 cities across the UK, and we actively are sourcing in 7 cities at the moment. However, we have management in an additional 3. As I said, we're not 25 years. I actually need to update these, but 25-year track record and having hit 3,000 renovations. So basically, our clients help us grow, and happy clients buy again and tell their friends. So this is the business that I like to call a very well-kept secret. We don't do any formal marketing at all. We rely on our good reputation to make us, grow. And the better we do for you, the more you can help us grow as well. So understanding your customers, tenants, and how to meet their needs. Okay. Now, a lot of times people just think of themselves as clients. Okay. At Grant Property, we have 2 clients. We have our investors and we have our tenants, and both are just as important as the other. Okay. So tenants are going to be seeking a great location. They want their property to be in a great condition. They want a safe property with affordable rent. And they want low energy costs. So something that we are super proud of is that since we have been having this initiative in 2006, we have cut our CO2 emissions by 30%. Okay. Now that's important to us because obviously now everyone's trying to go green and things like that. But we figured if we were going to do business in one of the biggest contributors to CO2, we should at least try to mitigate that. Okay. So we have done that. We've cut it by 30%. Now, you may ask what the difference is obviously low energy costs are good for tenants, particularly because of our tenant profile, which we will touch on in a bit. We also think tenants really want good service, right? So they want us to take good care of them, and they want efficient repairs as well. Okay, so this is what we can do for our tenants. Now, what we do is we source property in A-class locations. Okay, so the cities in which we operate in are always in the top tables for capital appreciation and yield growth. So we only source in the most prime cities and the most prime locations. Okay, we're going to renovate the properties to a super high standard. So all of our properties are renovated. They are made new inside. Okay, so whilst we only do traditional property, we are making them brand new inside, retaining all of their original features. Safety features are super important to us. So even if you buy a 1-bed property, we are going to renovate that property to an HMO standard. And the reason for that really is because we want our tenants to be safe. We're dealing with younger people, so we want to make sure that they're in a position to, sleep well at night, knowing that there's fire safety and electrical safety in place as well. But also, the councils across England and Scotland constantly change their standards for lettings. Okay, so for example, in places like Nottingham, they have put in landlord licensing for any type of lettings property, which means that loads of landlords who didn't have the proper safety features had to either retrospectively fit them or they had to sell because it was too expensive. So we're also going to future-proof your investment for you. Okay. And as I said, we are energy efficient. So we help our investors by focusing on very low risk property. So as I said, we're going to buy in great locations. We're going to do a whole host of due diligence on the properties to ensure that they are safe to invest in. As we are a one-stop shop, we're completely accountable for your property. So because we touch every single part of the process, we're able to offer a 12-month guarantee on our renovations. So if anything at all, for whatever reason, goes wrong with the renovation that we did, we will rectify that in that first year, okay? And of course, our buying power saves you money. So because we're buying hundreds of kitchens, hundreds of bathrooms every year, we're able to get that economies of scale that if you were doing it, with maybe a smaller sourcing agent or doing it yourself, they wouldn't have that buying power that we do, okay? So essentially, tenants will refer their friends, which helps with our occupancy, and investors will tell their friends, which helps us grow. Okay, so again, it's all about giving that fabulous service and making sure that people spread the word. Now, investment options. So this is the tenant profile across our portfolio, okay? Or apologies, across the UK. So first and foremost, you have students. So they're 45% of the lettings market. They are a very big and growing rental demand market. Okay, particularly in times of uncertainty, which we've all, been living through and coming to the tail end of. When people are unsure of what they're going to do, they tend to go to university because it is a safe place to be. Students are not very price sensitive at all because they pay their rent with their student loans. And of course, they have the bank of mom and dad who's going to make sure that that rent is paid. Okay, so we're able to put the rent up every year with our students. There's very, very low risk with students as well, because they will sign one lease, which makes them all responsible, and they'll all have guarantors. So imagine you have a 3-bed property. Not only are your 3 tenants responsible for that property, the 3 guarantors are as well. Okay, so you've got 6 people who are responsible for that rent. The next bit of the tenant types would be young professionals. Okay, so young professionals are also really great. However, they don't come with guarantors. So the way that we get around that is we make sure that they have a minimum income threshold. And if they don't, we will actually ask them for a guarantor, or we'll ask them for something called a non-guarantor payment, which is a couple of months of rent up front to keep in the bank just in case. Okay. The next bit is going to be corporate. So this is a very good part of the market, but it's quite small. There's not that much of that, particularly now with COVID. You then got families, which are much, much more price sensitive. So it's very difficult to get families out, and it's very difficult to put the rent up as well. And then you get social tenants, which are much higher risk. Okay. So we personally focus only on our students and our young professionals. Okay. So only young people, people who are willing to pay the extra rent for a nice product. Okay. We pretty much state we will do a corporate let. Dependent, but we will absolutely stay away from families and social tenants. Okay, so no families, no kids, and no one on any type of social benefits. Okay. Now, we're going to talk about traditional or new build. Okay, so I know that this is kind of a hot topic because some people really prefer new builds. But at Grant Property, as I said, we only focus on traditional property. And here's why. So traditional property tends to be in good or very good locations. So they're in the city centers, the places where you cannot build new property ever again. New builds tend to be in secondary or tertiary locations, so on the outskirts of the cities. Room sizes in traditional properties are far larger. They're easier to rent as well because new builds are competing against maybe 100 other identical properties. So that's going to make it quite difficult for you to differentiate your property. Rental increases are quite high on traditional for the same reason as before, much bigger, different. Now, we can make a traditional new inside if we renovate, which we do. Price per square meter tends to be lower for traditional. Value increases above market average. And then what we found in the financial crisis was that there were no issues with traditional properties, but there was a lot of bank repossessions on new builds. And that was because a lot of people switched over to lettings. However, they couldn't let their new builds out because there were so many other properties in those blocks that were on the market. And of course, traditional properties have been here for a very long time, and they will be here for a long time to come. Okay, new builds tend to deteriorate much quicker than traditional ever would. Okay, so as I said, we do not touch new build at all. The sort of baby of our portfolio, or the youngest part of our portfolio, would be about 1930s. Okay. So now we're going to talk about structuring, okay? So this is how we recommend our clients structure their portfolios in order to have the highest returns and as little bit of tax as possible. So what we have found is that when you buy with cash, you need a lot more cash, obviously, because you're going to need to buy the property, you're going to need to renovate it, and you're going to need to pay for any of your setup costs. So setup costs are things like your furnishings, our finder's fee, your legal costs, and things like that. So we usually say for every £100,000 you have in cash, you can quite comfortably buy one property with us. Okay. So we usually recommend that clients will structure in that way because they will get far higher returns in that structure. Now, when it comes to personal or limited company, the government changed the tax rules a couple of years ago. So everyone used to buy property personally. Now everybody buys in a limited company, okay? That's because the mortgage interest can be completely deducted, which is a huge savings for you. It also means that you can sort of have something that's easy and low cost to run. You're going to make a portfolio, so it's all under one entity. And also you can mitigate your inheritance tax. So if you have any children or next of kin that you would like to benefit from your property portfolio, you can easily set up what they call alphabet shares, which means that you will be able to help them to mitigate some of their tax. Okay. Now, what we usually say is if our clients have the ability to do so, they will buy in cash first and put bank lending in as soon as the renovation is complete. Now, if you don't have the ability to do that, then you absolutely can buy first with a bridge finance, which we can help you put in place, which would then go to step 2 to your long-term buy-to-let loan. Okay, so either way, you really do want to make sure you end up on a mortgage product in order to maximize your returns. Okay. Now, case studies. So what your money will buy, as I said, we only buy sort of Victorian and Georgian or sort of 1930s style houses, particularly down south. Prime cities would be Edinburgh, Bristol. In some areas of Glasgow, you might get a little bit more expensive. And then the lesser expensive cities tend to be sort of Manchester, Nottingham, Dundee, depending. Birmingham could be cheaper, but it does seem to be on the rise just now. But our properties sort of range from about 150 to up to £500,000. Okay.
And Stephanie, you've added Liverpool to that list of less expensive cities recently, right?
Yes, but Liverpool's still under consultation, so we haven't put it on here yet.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So yes, we have added it on there, so that's fine. Okay. So how to buy in prime areas. So this is our property sourcing team. Okay. Their job is to quite literally look for properties all day, every day. So there's 3 sets of people who look after your interests. You've got your property buyer who sources and assesses the property. Okay. So they're going to be looking at on and off market opportunities. You've got an RICS surveyor who's going to confirm the values. They're not just going to confirm the current value, they're also going to let us know what the renovated value would be. Okay, so as we put all of our properties to the same standard, they know what our product looks like and they're able to tell us if the property was renovated to that standard today, how much would it be worth? Okay. And then of course, you've got your solicitor who's going to be looking over your legal side as well. Okay, so you've got 3 people looking after your interests. So this is how we assess and win a property. So we might consider 100 properties, okay? These will be on and off the open market. We might visit 20 to 30 properties. We will assess them using our bespoke buy-to-let model, okay? If they stack up, then we will maybe offer on about 10. And in today's market, we might win 1 of them, okay? So there's a lot of competition from other buyers. And as I said earlier, we do not buy everything. We are very particular about what we will source. It has to be very, very low risk for our clients, okay? We do not drag clients through this pain. We only share the wins. And what I mean by that is if I have shared an opportunity with you, you will know that that is a viable opportunity, okay? It's not something that we're thinking about sourcing. It's something that we've already sourced. And if it takes your fancy, you can be the proud owner, okay? And then obviously we had Brexit at one time causing shortages, but now we've got COVID-19 causing shortages as well, okay? So how do we create a great property? So this is an actual case study of an actual property that we sourced about 9 years ago. So when we first got it, it was 3 bedrooms. You can see the kitchen was separate to the lounge and there was a bathroom. So what we did was we essentially knocked about a few walls, made an open plan kitchen lounge area, which is super popular with people these days. And we were able to make the existing kitchen into a bedroom. So without adding an extension, without doing a loft conversion, we were able to create a 4-bed out of a 3-bed property, okay? Now, all of our renovations are fixed costs, okay? They're also fixed time. So whatever time we say it's gonna take, if we say it's gonna take 8 weeks, it's gonna take 8 weeks. If we say it's gonna be 10 weeks, it's gonna be 10 weeks, okay? We have a contracts manager who manages the whole project for you on your behalf. And the benefits of this model of renovating completely, gutting out the property and creating something new is the rents are going to increase, the value is going to increase, and your maintenance costs are going to be significantly reduced. Okay. Now, this is actually a real photo of this property, so you can see what it looked like when it was done. As I said, we will reinstate original features, new kitchen and bathroom, new gas central heating, new layout, rewiring, decoration, and flooring, okay? And of course, we do have a YouTube channel, which has all of our renovations on it. And I do invite you to go check it out. They're really cool. I do oftentimes find myself getting a little bit lost in all of the beautiful renovations that we do, but they're very nice to look at. These are just some photos of what the Aspen spec looks like. So we call our specification Aspen. Now, on that property, you probably like to know what the actual numbers are. So essentially, the person bought it for $300,000. It's on Marchmont Road in Edinburgh, which is actually one of the most prime, prestigious roads in all of Edinburgh. They bought it for $300,000. The renovation costs were $39,300. Okay. The value was $300,000. So the surveyor told us that the value was going to be $300,000. Said it would be worth $340,000 when it was finished. Fine, all stacks up perfectly. Now, When we first sourced the property, the rent as a 3-bed was £975, 3.9% yield. After, because we added that extra bedroom and we made the property beautiful inside, the rent went up to £1,700. Okay, so it's an overall difference of 53%. Now, 3.9 to 6%, fine, great. Okay. However, because of how aggressive we are with our rental increases, this client's yield is now well over 12%. Okay, so they have been able to make a lot of money, and I would say that their property is worth a minimum of £450,000 today. Okay, so not only do they have that value increase, they also have the yield increase. Okay, so is COVID-19 an opportunity? Well, on the rental side, we have been able to raise rents tremendously once again. So in 2020, we rose rents by 8%. And in 2021, in England, we aim to 15% on our increases. So Bristol and Nottingham got 15%, and Manchester and Birmingham got 8%. But in a lot of cases, they actually went far higher than that. House prices continue to rise. Our verdict is there's a very short supply and very high demand, and it's creating a sense of urgency, which is driving more investment. So people are thinking, you know, I've always wanted to do this. I've lived through a pandemic. I may as well start this, become rich, and then I can move to Bermuda with my family and enjoy my life rather than having to go back onto the tube or whatever. So a lot of people are trying their hand at investment again. Okay, now some sellers are holding off altogether because that onward purchase is proving to be difficult. Some sellers are testing the market but won't discount. And in very, very, very few instances, and I mean very few, sellers are a bit nervous, they have to move, maybe there's some sort of life circumstance and they are reducing the price. Okay, for the most part, we are buying our properties at value or at current value or just a bit above. But for us, the thing that matters the most is what the property is going to be worth. Okay. Supply shortages are obviously a problem. So what we always say is take time out before you go live. Okay, so, you know, after this call, I hope to have meetings with all of you. And when you're ready, say you're ready, because if not, you will miss out on properties. Okay. And you can always look online. We've got an online platform called Applecross where you can actually browse some of the opportunities that we have. However, there's always opportunities in the background that perhaps don't ever make it to the website. So it's very good for us to get to know each other so I know what you're looking for. And then as soon as you pick a property, you'll need to put down a £5,000 reservation. And within 48 hours after that, you'll need to transfer us another £20,000. So a total of £25,000, which secures your renovation time slot. Make sure that your renovations start on time, because if any of you have done any property yet, or you know people that have, you'll know that the builders are extremely busy at the moment. So we really do need something to make sure that they are committed to your project. Okay.
Stephanie, on that, does the money get paid to the builders, or do you hold that money in like escrow and then release to the builders as the work gets done?
No, the money gets put into our client account, and then as soon as we invoice for the renovations at settlement or completion, we will invoice for the remainder of the renovations at that time.
Okay. But the money is secure, it's not released to the builders?
Oh, no. The money always stays with us in our client account.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So the properties we shortlist are grant property approved. The three ways that we check on properties is area and rental. So making sure that it's the right area and it will actually rent out. Looking at the values. So make sure that we can actually add some value to the property. And then of course the condition. Now, when I used to do property sourcing, I always used to get really excited. Like the worse the property was, the better. However, we won't take anything that is structurally unsound. So we're not going to be doing underpinning or anything like that. The property needs to be low risk. Okay. Now, speaking of risk, managing risk. So property is extremely time intensive. Okay, but our service is geared to take care of every aspect of it. Property prices can fall. During the financial crisis, admittedly, our portfolio went down by about 10%. All of our rents rose, and we're happy to say that none of our clients lost any money during that time, which is great. They all were rebounded and now have made a lot more money over time. Interest rates could rise, but of course, banks offer fixed rates. And, I'd always recommend you fix now because we don't know what's going to happen with them. So if you get a 5-year fix opportunity, that's a good opportunity for you. There's ever increasing regulations, which I touched on earlier. So we take care of all of those aspects as a given. We've got an in-house compliance team, and their job is to make sure that if you've got an HMO property, it's being run by the council standard and that your HMO license is in play and it's not going to lapse or anything like that. We make sure to check for asbestos, Legionella. We do your gas and electric safety testing as well. Okay, so none of that is something that you need to be bothered with. And of course, property is very low risk and easy to understand. We've all at least rented a property in our lifetime, if not bought one. We live in homes, so we understand how it all works. Now, does our approach work? So one thing that we do is called pre-letting. So whilst the properties are being renovated, because we do all of our properties to the same standard, so that Aspen spec, we're able to market the property with stock photos whilst it's being renovated. Okay, so in 80% of the cases, your property will be let out before your renovation is complete. Okay, that's something that a lot of agents are not able to offer because they don't have the scale of properties to use. Okay, we are consistently at a minimum 95% occupancy. Our occupancy is actually just one touch under 98% at the moment, which we're very proud of. Of course, we've got properties being renovated, which take into account that other 2%. Rent collections, we don't have any bad debts, especially on our student flats. So because we're doing students, because they've got guarantors, we don't have the problem where they're not going to pay their rent. We don't have the problem of them losing their jobs or being furloughed or anything like that. And as I said, rents increased by 15% this year, which we're very proud of. And returns. So basically, our return model is about 28% per annum over our 25 years. And that takes into account your leveraging. Okay, so your ability to use your capital appreciation in order to make more money. Okay, so the more leveraging or bank loans you have on a property, the better your returns are going to be. And something we're super proud of is 98% of our clients say that they will refer us to a friend or colleague, which is the greatest payment we could get. Now, the fun bit, as I said, not really that fun. It's all about banks and tax, but we've got to talk about it. So we would say select a bank wisely. Not all banks actually deliver on the product, okay? You're doing buy-to-lets. A lot of banks will give you a headline, really low, nice offer, and then they come to the property and they actually won't deliver on what they say, okay? So the key questions to ask when looking for a bank are, will they lend to bigger properties, so 3 to 5 beds? Many won't. Will they lend on the renovated value? Okay, because if they lend on the renovated value, it means that less of your cash is tied up into the deal, which is great. Will they lend to a limited company? Okay, because that's going to be more tax efficient and a lot of lenders will not. Is interest only possible? This obviously preserves your cash flow. Will they actually deliver? Okay, so that's something that we can always let you know of. We have clients in over 40 countries around the world. I can assure you there is literally not a situation we have not come across yet. Okay. And then what are the rates and fees? So you should never let the rates and fees drive your decision making, because if you buy in the limited company, you are going to be able to offset that from your tax. Okay. So the short answer is 95% of our clients, they will either buy property in cash or they'll bridge up front. They'll put bank lending in place as a second step, and having lending plus a limited company means very high returns, and certainly for the first few years, 0 tax to pay. Okay. Now, if you're looking for lending, we do have a partner. We don't get anything from it. but they are a master broker who mostly all of our clients use, and they are very clever. They're able to find solutions that other brokers are not able to find. Okay. Now, in summary, UK residential combines low risk and high returns. Supply shortages are driving rents and prices. Traditional property has outperformed new build. And obviously, if you're in the UK, it doesn't really matter, but because the pound has been quite weak, you can have more for your money. Okay. And these are just some FAQs, which we can just have some chat now and have a chat about sort of any questions. So if you guys have any questions, happy to have an open conversation. You can take yourself off mute if you like, as there's so few of us, and we can just have a chat.
Stephanie, what's your sense of what's happening with student numbers going into the new year? You talk earlier about students, have they got nothing better to do, may as well go to university. What are you seeing in the markets around the UK in terms of student numbers, applications?
Yeah, they're really high. I had 2 clients this week who settled or completed on properties last week, and they've already got pre-lets this week. So their properties are literally not even a week into their renovation, and they're already let out to students.
Okay.
I think because the student searching period started late this year because of the lockdown. It's actually really a great time to buy, because a lot of them are looking now for something in, maybe September time or whatever. But it's very busy.
Okay. And what happens if you complete a property partway through an academic year, in terms of completing the renovation, such that students have got themselves fixed? How do you then manage that to align it with the academic year?
Well, we in most of our cities, because our properties are for young professionals and students, we are able to rent them out for maybe a 6-month term to get people into their student cycle. So that's really not something that we really are concerned with, depending on what you buy. So like, let's say you buy a 6-bed in Birmingham, right? That is going to end up being a little bit tricky outside of the student season. So what we might do is create a letting strategy where we might do, just for the interim, a room by room let, and then as soon as we can get back onto the student cycle, then we will.
Yeah, because once you're on that student cycle, you've got that joint and several liability among the students. The other advantage, of course, they're picking up the bills, aren't they? If it's done on a single let, the students pick up the bills. But if it's done on a multi-let basis, then it's the landlord paying the bills.
Absolutely. But what we always say to our clients is, if you buy now, and let's say you have to do sort of a non-traditional tenant agreement, so untraditional being not the single AST, just in the interim, that's okay, because you're getting your property at today's prices. You don't want to wait another 6 months, and you're going to end up paying more and missing on the opportunity.